Hey, what's up, Will? Back with another video. We got us a brand new light. Couldn't be more pleased with that, but I don't know how it's gonna work out for this video and unboxing because I think I might postpone it for a little while. But what I want to say in this video, it's another unboxing, and it's just more of the same about how I am just so I've never been so disappointed in all my life with the mail service. I mean, things that should be in within a week or so are taking way longer, like 5 days longer. They're getting stuck in one nearby location for 5 days, and it's just ridiculous. And it strongly discourages me from ordering, because I mean, let's face it, when you can live without something and it's in a location that would lead you to believe that it will spin longer than expected, why the hell would you take that offer? And it's really going to hurt, people that rely on business online, because, if you can live without something, you just will. And it's like, how are they going to make money? So, what I want to talk about in this video, and my nails are just, slowly coming to a slow and painful death, because I cannot be bothered to get the nail polish remover and take all the rest of it off, especially with that sealant. And this is just, every time my nails go through this phase, which they happen to match the package that I'm going to be unboxing, it's just a reminder as to why I don't paint my nails more often, as much as I would love to. Reality is, I have to do yard work over here, and I have to bathe frequently, or else I have that musky dude smell. I'll smell like a guy without, even being on male hormones. So I have to bathe frequently, and that causes my nail polish not to last as long. So, without further ado, I want to talk about some things that have come in and why I bought them. Okay. One of them is, it's amazing how, rather than actually find out, look for dolls of shows that I like, I find out about the shows when I see the dolls in that order. But this is Sir Garrett, and it was hard to tell he was a boy, before I looked into his character. And he's on a show that I never really got into. And the name of the show, well, there's a very obvious reason why I never got into it. It was on Nickelodeon, or Nick Jr., called Nella the Princess Knight. And what's cool about Nella is, unlike Sophia, well, very much like Sophia, but unlike Sophia, she transforms from a knight back to a princess. And really, if I should have only bought this one. This is the one I prefer, because, I mean, you can tell she's a girl. First, I was only going to buy the boy, but once I found out how little of a main character he was, how much more important to the show the girl was, it was like she's basically the title of the show. I mean, it would almost be like buying Prince James, but not Sophia. And the show was introduced right as Princess Sophia was waning in popularity around 2017. But then it ended not long afterwards. So it had only about a 2-year run. And it was this, Mexican looking or Latina looking princess, that could also be a knight. And really, I would have preferred this one, but I got a much lower offer on this one not long after the boy that I just couldn't pass up. And so I shouldn't have bought this one, but I did anyway, because she matched the boy better. And so I could see, why I didn't really care about that show or even know about that show. Because it's 2D animation. It sucks. And just like this horrible Snow White movie. And the direction Sophia the First was going in, especially in the later seasons, it was already like that in the beginning, but it got even worse. It's just another one of these girl power shows, where, we don't need men because we can do the exact same thing that men do, only look prettier while we're doing it and still be a princess later on. And I really don't like that message. And I really do feel like that was definitely, it was probably the intent of Princess Sophia in the beginning, but they just couldn't make it quite so obvious in the early stage, the honeymoon period, season 1 and 2. But I really do think, that this trend toward cucking men, and if you don't know that word, it just means, like a man whose wife is cheating on him, basically. Basically, making men seem weak and effeminate and like they don't know their butts from a hole in the ground. That's been going on for a long time. But I feel like every year it gets worse. And as a result, the movies don't get better. And they're just now starting to see, just how much it doesn't resonate. How much this image really not only doesn't resonate with most people, but hurts both genders. Because it makes men redundant and unnecessary. And at the same time, I feel like they are creating, it's a shame because they're creating things that don't benefit anyone. Rather than appealing to the demographic that truly enjoys cartoons, which is boys and to a lesser extent men who are immature, rather than making shows that appeal to them and exalt them, the people who are actually going to watch cartoons and enjoy them for many years to come. I feel like they're destroying things by trying to appeal to people who, number one, do not really like cartoons. And number two, we never really asked. You see, that's what men don't get. It's, women never asked for this. That is not our fantasy. To overpower men, to dominate men, to replace men. That was never our fantasy or our idea to begin with. Never was. It was just something that we were sold in exchange for, we thought it would be easier if we didn't have to, get pregnant. That's my number one fear. I don't like the thought of pregnancy or anything that will, cause even a 1% chance of vomiting is one too many. And for me, it's the indignity of it. It's not a fear. I'm not grossed out by vomit, as you well know. It's just the indignity of me, having issues with my GI tract, which I'm so ashamed to have. It's the indignity of me having to throw up or having issues with anything to do with my GI tract. And also my respiratory tract. And so, women, girls, it's like it doesn't make us happy. To see ourselves depicted as knights and stronger than men or equal to men or not needing men doesn't make us happy. When men are left out of cartoons or even live action shows or given less screen time, given less of a role, made to seem like they can't do anything, that doesn't make us happy. That's not how you empower girls. In fact, nothing will turn me off to a series like, too much about girls and talking animals and not enough about human males. Nothing will turn me off to a series like that. In fact, the only reason I even care at all about a lot of cartoons is because of the male characters. They are the selling point, not the females. And so, women never asked for that. And that's why the Snow White movie is such a failure, because women were not just sitting around saying, you know what, I would like a movie, that makes women look like the hero and men, and we don't really need men. We want to take over and rule our own country. Well, no, we don't. We just want to rule our own butthole, to put it bluntly. We just want the right to not do something, which is pregnancy, that's going to jeopardize our own control over the most basic bodily fluids. That's what I wanted control of, my own bodily fluids, not a country or, the world or anything like that. That's men's fantasy. And so, the other thing I want to do is unbox a package that I hope will make me happier than that. Well, that one made me happy, but to talk about something else. And this package is yet another cartoon on Nickelodeon. See, what happened was, when Nickelodeon saw the success of a more wholesome show, like Sophia the First, and how their Rugrats were basically yesterday's diapers, they started wanting to create a wholesome period piece of a cartoon to compete with it. They started wanting to create things that were more like Sophia the First in their own way, in a more boyish way, and didn't, talk about bodily fluids all that much, though I'm finding hidden things. But this is Santiago of the Seas. And it's another thing created around the same time that Sophia was going out of style. And what I like about these characters, well, I like even though it's Spanish, but I like the fact that it's like a period piece. It's about pirates instead of princesses. And I feel like these would make excellent princes to go with the Sophia the First line. Like, how Prince James and Cedric were so outnumbered? Well, here is an antagonist that's actually a little boy with a high voice. And then he's, ironically, the only white-looking, blue-eyed character. And the Hispanic little boy, you see he's got the open-finger gloves, like Cedric, only he's the protagonist. So this is Santiago, and this is Enrique. So he's got a Spanish name, but he looks white. And they both have the same hair and eye color, like the hair matches their eyes. And this is a rare villain wearing white clothing. But didn't get into that show, never had an interest in it, but I just thought that they would go well with the Sophia the First line as boys. There just weren't enough boys. And yes, I realized there are girl characters, like a black mermaid with purple eyes. But I like the show because it has exactly what I think a show ought to have. And that is male protagonist, male antagonist. And I honestly wish it were a rule that while the protagonist can be anyone or anything in the world, the antagonist may not be a woman. I wish they would make that a rule written in stone, because, as I've stated before, women just shouldn't be vilified. I don't really like seeing men portrayed as big man babies, that can't really, pour water out of a boot with instructions on the heel. I don't really like that, but what I like even less is to see female villains, evil women, because I just feel like that's incorrect. It vilifies women. It encourages violence against women. And it's just not very accurate. Yeah, it just isn't. Women are just not. When between the cooking and the laundry, would a woman find time for evil schemes, is my question. If a woman is running her house properly, she will not have time to be evil or to commit evil. Certainly not to commit atrocities. Women do not commit atrocities. They may go along with evil men who commit atrocities, like in the 30s and 40s in Germany. They might be complicit in it, but they are not the perpetrators. They are not the people behind it. And I feel like they just shouldn't be vilified. Women should not be vilified. They don't necessarily have to be glorified, but they shouldn't be vilified, is what I'm saying. Women are not villains. And that's what I like. I like the fact that, we actually have an antagonist that is a cute little boy, even though his hair is blue. I wish it were brown or black. And he wears light colored pants for a change, but he has a purple cape. So, I like that. I think that would go nicely with the princess girls in the Sophia line, and they stand up better than Prince James. He just falls over. But, just wanted to say that I feel like if they didn't push that narrative so hard in every movie and every show, that's for children or young audiences, that they do a lot better. This narrative that we don't need men, and that we can also be evil villains, that's the worst part of it. If they wouldn't push that so hard, the movies would be a lot better. If they didn't, if boys were not so outnumbered. It used to be the other way around. It used to be that to find a little girl character in anything was rare. And she was always sweet. She was never a bitch like Angelica. And so, I just want to say that, and like, I just really, I don't like seeing men portrayed as weak and effeminate and like adult babies, but it's better than not seeing them at all in a show. And I don't like that one bit. When it's like in Sophia the First, we started out with the males having a lesser role, but then as the show went along, one in particular, obviously my favorite, was just about removed from the show. He was all but removed from the show. And I can't help but think that him pooping his pants, if you're gonna try to argue with me that his pants were clean at the end of that movie, you are an idiot. Just like with Angelica. And I think that I can't help but think that somebody knew that, and that had something to do with it. It was almost like he was banned from any more long TV movies from that point onward until the season finale at the end. And he was hardly ever there in season 3 and 4 in episodes. And so I really do think that was like their way of phasing him out. And I feel like there was, just like with Angelica, there was a shroud of mystery surrounding his bottom in particular. Like, they didn't mind you seeing his pant legs, but they really didn't like to show you his butt without the robe hiding it. And we never got to see him barehanded, let alone barefoot. And that always bothered me too. And the other thing, as I've stated before, it's like, these people that want to say that because Tommy, they couldn't be more ridiculous. The argument that because Tommy may have done what I said Angelica did, that she couldn't possibly have done it, well, that's ridiculous. It makes no sense. And the same thing, I also think, as I've stated before, never have I said that the others necessarily didn't do what she did. But, as I stated before, it's all the better if they did. And I feel like they don't want me stating these things because it casts doubt on all other Rugrats content. For me to say she did it in that third movie, it's like, who's to say she didn't in the first and second movies? You know what I'm saying? The same thing with Cedric. Were it known, just how likely it is that he messed himself. And that's basically the third movie as well. The third movie that he was in. Third TV movie, because they didn't have theater movies with that show. it's almost like people wouldn't want that known, because then it would cast doubt on other TV episodes, like maybe just like Angelica, he was not, well, he wasn't potty trained to my standard, but maybe he was just going in his pants all the time and then using the magic wand to make it vanish. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's why his spell only halfway worked in Floating Palace. He was still an octopus from the waist down, and from the waist up, he transformed back into a human. Well, maybe that's why it didn't work all the way. Maybe when he got hit by that wall of water, that happened. And, maybe in Once Upon a Princess, the introductory movie to the show, the pilot movie, maybe that's what he really intended to vanish instead of that suit of armor. Because if you listen closely, he had just farted when Sophia bumped into him. And so maybe just like, very similarly to Angelica, there's a whole shroud of mystery around his butt, pun intended, because, he has similar issues in not being, what I would consider potty trained, but obviously my definition is very strict. Like, you have to be trained for all states of matter, never doing them anywhere but a toilet. So, people don't want these things to be known. They don't want them to come to light. And they'll try to block my contributions, which I'm not doing anymore. That's why I don't want to get involved. I don't really want to watch these shows. I think my life would be much better if I just had the freaking dolls and knew almost nothing about the character except maybe, one or two brief samples of their voice. If all I knew about the character was what kind of voice they had, I think my life would be a lot better. If I didn't know just so much about the characters, because it's like, as much as I enjoy knowing those things, what can that really get me other than banned or blocked or my contributions deleted should I dare to post it? And so, I just really, really do. I enjoy, having my figures. But as I stated before, I am a doll collector. I'm not into animation, never have been into animation. And as I've learned later in life, I don't like the kind of people, I have nothing in common with the kind of people who love animation. Because, there's some creepy people, they're mostly men. And that right there gives them an entirely different outlook on bodily fluids and functions. That in and of itself. They don't have the same outlook on bodily functions. Well, they can't, because they don't have the same body parts that we do. So I think, there's a good chance that Cedric messed himself, and I think Sophia probably did too. Same thing with, it's almost like, it's the weirdest thing. I want to hurry up and say this, before I get off of the subject matter and stop talking about it. But it's almost like, you would almost think it was the same people involved in the third Rugrats movie as were involved in that third Sophia the First TV movie. You know what I'm saying? Because it's nearly identical. Basically, Cedric is Nigel, the big-nosed British guy. And he pulls up his socks real high, just like Nigel. And he's got skinny legs. Sophia is Susie, the nice girl with a darker shade of hair, though she's not black. And Amber is Angelica, the mean blonde girl. And wouldn't it be odd if, let's say all of them did what I said. In both movies, all three of them in The Curse of Princess Ivy, and all 9 of them in that Rugrats movie, the crossover movie. Let's just say, because I honestly think that, Nigel may have thought he was 3 years old for that reason. Maybe when he hit his head the first time he did that, and that's what gave him the idea that he was only 3 years old. It knocked it out of him. And so, wouldn't it be something? Let's say they all pooped their pants. I don't really care. I wouldn't put it past them. But you would almost think it was the same people behind it, because it's a nearly identical concept. So, that's what I believe. I'm glad I have my package finally. Try not to order anymore, and I'll go ahead and post this video.
Why are troll doorways so low?